most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Hello and welcome to another week of the Racehour podcast, sponsored by Bet365, home of the position payout. At the top of the show, for a change, I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe. New season, new algorithm. YouTube are the hard taskmasters now, so we need to get the algorithm up. So you've been with us for years, lads. Give us the old like button, tell your friends, subscribe, all that stuff. Joined as usual, I'm Stephen Cass, joined by Diarmuid, Nolan, Tony Keenan. Diarmuid, we'll start with you this week. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, literally. Saturday had Gustavian. I had a good few losers too. Now, in fairness, but I Gustavian too, and then on Sunday, then I had a swing on El Gacora Hills. So I had a good old weekend. Just about ahead, not too far behind. It could have been a bad weekend, but those two winners pretty much kept me on track. But again, of course, it's all bet responsibly, obviously. But how was your weekend? You were rocking up at a wedding, were you?
Oh, I was at a wedding. I was at the wife's cousin's wedding. Yeah. It was actually it was up in your neck of the woods, Racehour, not too far from you.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah, and it was nice. And they're lovely people, lovely wedding. I tell you something's got to give with Irish weddings, because one thing equality has given us is an absolute plethora of speeches. You know, like it used to the three speeches. Now you have the bride, the groom, the bride's mother, the bride's bridesmaids. You have the groom's father and the bride's father, and someone else doing the in-betweens. I think there was about 8 speakers at the wedding. Now these are all great people. None of them podcast listeners will stay here now. But I like this. Just you're sitting there, and they do about 40 minutes of speeches. Then you have your food, and you know what's coming. Like, you have to sit there stuffed. You can't even get out of your chair for another hour after. I actually have a suggestion. I
hope you put a good cash now on that card, because you're after slamming that poor old wedding now. Like,
no, it's not then. They're great. Everybody wedding's the same. Your wedding wasn't too bad.
My wedding was the same. I know it wasn't too much better than that.
Well, your brother went on about your childhood friend. Nobody cares about that. Like, right? So the only people that care about the speeches are the immediate family, right? So I suggest at the meal the night before, they always meet up, do the speeches then. They're the only people that are there that care about it. So that's my suggestion.
My poor old brother Killian does listen to this show now, so he's gonna put the old thumbs down now after this,
Yeah. We've lost a subscriber already. Okay, but that's my suggestion anyway. Just move it to the day before and let us stand up and move around a bit. Anyway, so TK, how was your week? Did you out on punting wise?
Oh God, I punted very middling this weekend. Started okay at Dundalk on Friday night. I backed Marnean's maiden winner, but should have backed his other couple of horses. Didn't like the ones in against Aviatrix, and Economics was in against that Dodge Pot Diego Wilquessa. But anyway, moving on to Saturday, wasn't doing much at Corn, played small, only 2 real bets to shorten, but ran poor. And then just the things were wrong at Naas. Despite you two telling me I didn't back Cora Hills, trying to be too smart, like. Sure, she was the only one with any kind of intent behind her at all. I tried my best to get Spillane Tower beat back 3 in that. I don't think that was the worst plan, but didn't land on the winner now or anything like that. But then, lads, disgraced myself. Back that Eel Atlantic. Look, what was I thinking? It's like, do you know what? I don't know what it's like. It's like backing 2 losers and one losing money on that horse. I don't know. Anyway, back to the drawing board for this week.
Because he's a kind of one, if he went and won, you wouldn't be annoyed with yourself for not backing. Do you know what I mean? That's the way he's packed it in a few times. Yeah. Surprised with you there. Now, we have a few topics to cover today. We're going to go through all our eye catchers, and there's really good race in England and Ireland this week. Not so much when Canton with the ground the way it went, but we've a few from England, a few from Ireland. And we're going to talk about the top 10 chasers from the Anglo-Irish classifications from last year. That's going to be the run of the pod today. But TK, we're going to start with you because you want to make some points on volatile betting markets and what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, well, the Racing Post ran an article in the middle of summer there about how volatile the markets were on Saturdays. The only thing I'd say about that, I think it's every day the markets are volatile at the moment. It's not just the Saturdays. In Ireland, at least, there seem to be wild swings in the prices throughout the year. But I do think, especially at this time of the year, when kind of the fitness is so, mysterious to the markets, like maybe the prices are put in very bad at the start. I don't know, but they're just extremely volatile. Like Naas on Sunday there. A lot of swings. The Gale Atlantic is just one example. Like, where he opened up 7-2, then he was out probably pushing for 6-1, probably closed 5-2, and plenty of swings in between that. Look, I'm not saying every race is like that. There are sometimes markets where the prices are pretty static, and the odd time where the market wants to know only one or two horses. But I think overall there's a lot more volatility than there was maybe 5 years ago.
Can I ask
It's probably a
Tony,
good thing, actually.
do you know the way last year we talked a bit about how algorithms were driving the market and the big players back in the algorithms? Do you think that's still as much of a factor now, or is there something else at play, or are the algorithms second guessing themselves and battling each other, or what? You know what I mean? Are they as big a factor as they were?
I don't know the answer to that. I'd say that I'd make a stab at that. I'd say there's less money in the exchanges early, which creates more volatility there. I'd say maybe not all of the money is in the official market, shall we say. Like, the exchanges get to the right price at the end, but the journey it takes to get there now is a lot more bumpy than it ever was, I would say. Well, I don't think that's a bad thing by any means. I think it's actually probably a good thing for punters. If you've got a price in mind, if the prices are going to chop and change and up and down and in and out, you have plenty of opportunities to get on at the price that you kind of want or have in mind. So, yeah, hopefully it will continue. It has been a thing, though, for a good year or two and a bit at this point.
Yeah. In terms of the races that happened, you mentioned Spillane's Tower there, Tony. That was an interesting race to watch and an interesting betting market. He was very strong in the betting. He whatever £34 in hand or whatever he had in his chase form. But you wanted to make a point of him.
I don't have any massive point on him. I suppose I did my best to get him beat. I wanted a back Somsky, a back the Niagara Reedy, and a back Lyndon Arden. Just, I suppose, the each way shape it was good and all like that. I think I saw. I don't know what to make of his run. I don't think it was particularly bad bit of placing or anything by them. Maybe a slightly unusual race to run him, but like, it's not unusual for the old school Irish trainers, traditional lads, to give a horse a spin over hurdles before going over fences. Although you could argue that kind of thinking is gone out of date. But you know what? I think you can try and point fingers at trainers and different things. I would say the biggest issue with Spillane's Tower at the minute is what's going on between his ears. He was second in the John Durkan last year, and I put in my notes at the time that he had a wonky head carriage, and I didn't really believe myself, to be honest. I just said he won too many races as a novice chaser. He hasn't cocked the jaw there. I'm seeing things. He got into the two races that he ran after that, the King George and Aintree. He never got close enough to get into a battle, so we don't know. But I thought he cocked the jaw there again after two out there on Sunday, and I don't really blame the trainer for that. I think that the horse is probably the issue, and he has a long road to get back, as far as I'm concerned at the moment. So yeah, I don't know what to say beyond that. I don't think it's placing. I think it's attitude.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it back because he was one of my favorite horses, but he's gone off the boil so much. I didn't watch him as closely. The one I watched very closely was Back to Normal. Speaking of heart, you said Spillane's Tower had a. Is it unusual to go back over hurdles? But I'd say they'll be delighted with Back to Normal because he was just tagged on to the back of the front main bunch, exactly where you want to be. Really travelled through the race lovely and got tired in the straight, exactly where they would want it. So Back to Normal, I think. Paddy Power Chase, I would guess at Christmas time will be the big target for him. So he was definitely one I took out of that race. We'll come back to you, Tony, as we're going through the review. But Diarmuid, Nolan, you've kind of sat in your hands long enough and you probably want to... you can stand up and take a camera and dance around there and say how magic Robert Tyner is.
Look, all of our hardcore listeners, Cass, who will be listening to us now for 9 years now, I think it is.
Sorry, Dermot, sorry. Just in 15 seconds, what's the fascination with Tyner? Because he's not your neck of the woods, like he's Kinsale, isn't he? And you're down in Terry.
Yeah.
So
He's Kinsale. The Tyner yard would have had horses running down in the Carsabeen flapping races, and they're involved in every level of racing. And it's I've always just liked the yard. I like the fact that Robert Tyner is still pulling off these touches all these years later. You know, he was landing races with the Diarmuid back in 1999, and he's still there at these sorts of tables. He retired. He's back again. It's just. Tyner tried to say at the weekend that it was the soft ground has kind of brought him on. That's his old nature, innit? He'd pass it off. But Dave had 5 first-time out winners this season. The 12-year-old of theirs was second in the Cork National running, a career best. I'm Slippy looks a horse that could be graded. Robert Heiner's never won a grade 1. I'd say if he's ever going to, I think he seems to think it's this I'm Slippy that'll be, of that kind of level. They've just got horses and he's got them all flying to a degree. Robert Heiner was never really a first time out trainer either. It was usually they come back and have a quiet win, like better times ahead. 5 of them this season. So for a trainer who should be kind of addressing or kind of entering his later years, I just find it fascinating that whatever's changed down there, they're flying and the horses are coming out first time winning, and not only just winning, they're being punted off the boards in doing so. So whatever they've done down there, it is working, and at the moment he's only having 2 or 3 runners a week, so it's not a bad yard. You just follow blind. He's 4 winners and a second from his last 8 runners. It's serious going, and I like seeing a yard. He retired 2 years ago. He's back and he's better than ever. It's just a great sign, because most of his generation of trainers, they're either gone now or kind of struggling. You know what I mean? So it's a great sign of him, Cass. But yeah,
he's one runner this week. A great buzz entered on Thursday, so that's a good one for you and Robert Tyner. A great buzz. And we'll be back next week for our weekly section of Robert Tyner Corner. But there's another one. Your next horse, Thermo. You have 2 more horses you want to talk about there, and we'll come back, swing back around to you. Mambo number 5 and Hidden History.
Yeah, both at Aintree, both really impressive. Mambo number 5 is really impressive, first of all, because I like how aggressive Ben Pauling is. He throws this horse into an open handicap chase in his debut over fences. Now, I know UK trainers do run them in handicaps, but open handicap now is brave. To throw him in there off 128. This horse cost 450 grand last season. He won the Adonis hurdle, but kind of went wayward afterwards. But Ben Pauling was at pains to say after that Adonis win, like he drifted like a barge that day, that this horse was a chaser and he'll be really good, especially getting that kind of claim as a 4-year-old. He'll keep plugging away in handicaps. I think this horse will win at least once, if not twice more. He could knock up a few. He won off 128. He'll get a good whack for that, but he can just keep going. He's a really classy horse. Love the fact that he belted the 8, like really belted it. He met 2 out kind of wrong and was still just more than good enough here. This was a really aggressively run race as well. Highland Hunter in second. He's no mug either. And to win your first chase overseas in an open handicap like that, that's really impressive. Hidden History, Cass, he won he'd no right really to win this. He was kind of given a held up ride, made a bad mistake in the 13th, and of 125 again, he's plenty to go. But Haiti Colors won this exact race last year of 127. Hidden History wins this of 125, and he won it like a stayer. He was in big trouble turning in. Poor old theatre man, I don't think he's ever going to win a race over fences, and he's not ungenuine. He just keeps being caught by one. He got caught up the running here as well. He's not ungenuine at all. He went for the post and he just got caught. I always feel really sorry for the likes. Well, sorry, not that the horse knows, but the owner. I just think the Hidden History, and straight after the race, the first thing Dan Skelton mentioned was that National Hunt chase as well at Cheltenham, and to me he'd no right to win. He was an out and out stayer. I'd say he won't get too much of a belting. I think Dan Skelton, his horses are flying, but I really I loved how honest he was. 125, the Skeltons plot him back towards something later on in the season. I think this horse has the old dreaded Welsh national kind of way about him. He's just a lovely animal, jumps really well, and yeah, they're kind of 2 chasers I think who will be winning again this season, Cass.
Okay, do you think it's fair? Like, do you know the way that the English, they allow novices run in handicap chases off their hurdle, which is fair enough, I think, in novice handicap chases, but being allowed to go in on your hurdle mark into open handicap chases, should they not have some bit of, do you know what I mean, that they can go straight in against the open company?
They do it in Ireland, Tony, but what's the top rating again?
120, I think, or maybe it's 110.
120 is the top rating.
Quite low down, yeah.
So it's only horses lower than 120 who can do it in Ireland, and I think it's only like Zavine Donoghue who's kind of really taking advantage of that. I don't think anyone else has really given it a good kind of go over. But yeah, in the UK, I do find it odd. Like Mambo number 5, always a chaser, a 4-year-old. They could not have got to kind of grips with him, and he gets to run off 128. But again, both those horses, though, Cass, were also nearly undone by their lack of experience. So I suppose there is a bit of a kickback there. But yeah, there should be some sort of a gauge here, because it's not fair in the older handicappers. But look, that's kind of, the UK cannot be choosy at the moment with the lack of runners they have over the whole week, I suppose.
And I'm always saying I like the horses go into chasing a bit quicker. So look, it's probably talking out of both sides of my mouth saying it's odd. But it does seem odd. Going back to Thursday, Tony, there was good racing at Clonmel. We saw Elite Tomp won well, what would be expected, and he go into a match with John Bond in the Tingle Creek. But Spindleberry was a really interesting race, I thought. What did you think of her performance?
Yeah, which look, I don't think we learned an awful lot. Very slowly run race, much weaker gallop on than Sinicia set in the Elite Tomp race. But she looked good. She's a fine big fucking mare. Jumps well, does things kind of right. I suppose what you're getting is the comments from the owner after the race and kind of doubling down on them in the racing post there at the weekend, kind of saying that I'd really love her to go for a Gold Cup, but there's no chance of her going for the Gold Cup type of thing. Which kind of is a problem for the sport. Like, I suppose with Willie Mullins, like, look, maybe she would prove nowhere near good enough for a Gold Cup, but wouldn't it be nice to kind of find out? To me, she looks like a horse that 3 miles could be something that would bring about improvement. Townend was saying the same afterwards. But the owner, oh God, it just feels like he's on deaf ears with what he's saying. He was like, lads, you know, the mare's chase is not keeping me up in the middle of the night. Look, I get it completely, and I suppose as a fan of ours, I do think it would be great to see her, but run the nuts in the race. But I don't know if it's going to happen. What do you think, Stephen? I know you've a few views on it, have you?
Well, I thought it was great to hear because it was great to hear an owner, like normally Willie's owners come out and say, we'll do whatever Willie tells us, basically. This fella's saying, I don't want to go out. And not only does he not want to go for a novice race, he wants to go for the Gold Cup as a novice, which is just fantastic. Oh, sorry, she's not a novice, of course she's not.
No.
But I just thought it was fantastic, like that he was, talking outside of school a bit with the whole Willie Mullins yard. And the Mayor's Chase is an extremely dull race to win. You know what I mean? There's many rare races throughout the season I'd rather win. So if he thinks that you would go for the Gold Cup, wouldn't you love to see it? I'd love to see it anyway. But I would have a view on her as a horse. I thought she has ran once left-handed beaten on debut on the track. And Grant, you'd expect that. But Willie has kept her right-handed. And she does lead on her right all the time. And she actually cocks her jaw to the right, not in a negative cocking her jaw way when the jockey's going for it. She actually carries her head cocks to the right. So I'd be very worried about her going left-handed. So
he did say that at one point last season. I think it maybe was before the Fairy House race that she won, that he did think she was a right-handed horse. So yeah, if you have the visuals and the trainer comments, there may well be something in that. Her next race on New Year's Day, logical race, will be Fairy House, but is she going to get forced into running left-handed? Like, obviously Mullins has said that before, but different horses that you're just kind of forced to. If you're going to follow the mare's program, you don't really have an awful lot of choice. There are races just at left-handed tracks, Naas and Cheltenham and so on.
Yeah, throw her in a King George, see what happens. He's going over anyway. If that's what he wants to do, go right-handed against the boys and see where you are. If you're going Gold Cup, that could be the brave thing to do. Another horse actually I thought they could do that, and it's 33-1 with Bet365. And Tony, going on to the horse you want to talk about next, Only by Night. That Champ Kiley was second, and I thought over 2 miles that was a good performance for him because I think he's better right-handed. So I thought he could be a sneaky one for the King George, given his form right-handed and on decent ground as well. He'd be one to watch for the King George, I think.
Yeah, I thought he ran a terrific race. I think that race was very much on Only by Night's terms. She's the 2 mile. I know again. Gavin Cromwell saying afterwards she's going to go for the race on New Year's Day, which is 2-5 at Fairy House and probably slow ground. I think Spindleberry would probably have the measure of her there at outsteer and stuff like that. Like, all Only by Night does is jump and travel and then finishes out her race strong without saying she wants to go any further. But I suppose one of the really interesting races of the weekend was the race kind of after that, the 2 mile beginners chase. Like I do loads and loads of interesting horses. Now I know some of the fancied ones didn't perform. The Wall Park didn't really seem to take the chase, and Beckett Rock disappointed, was clinically abnormal post race. But like time comparisons with Cholos novices in a fairly good light relative to Champ Kiley and Only by Night, the winner genuinely would have been the last horse I'd have backed in the race. I just thought he was such a disaster with Edward O'Grady, but Harties, who've had a brilliant finish to the flat season, seem to have turned him inside out. thought Jimmy Mangan, sort of pure steel, who would not have been in the league if any of these over hurdles, ran a screamer, jumped well, got a really nasty bit of hampering coming kind of to 2 out. He's on his first run since January. That was an excellent run. I thought Supreme Jet, I don't know what he was, 250 to 1 or something like that. He ran really well after long break, like really keen hold. Didn't really see it out finish fourth, but his jumping there was electric. I just thought fast 2 miles suit him if he can improve for fitness. And Gormaya got, standard JP McManus, second, third, fourth string, first him out in the beginner's chase, like just ridden with an 8 the next day, going further will suit. Jump, I'd say jump like a 2.5 miler, which is probably what he is. But yeah, the world of promising performance scenarios. I don't think any of these are going to stand up like to the grade 1 novice orders last season to cope with the boards of that, but definitely races in a lot of them.
Yeah, and lots of handicaps in that race. And if you follow the system of backing horses that we write off for attitude, you'd be flying. Another winner there for that, Irish Panther. I think we've talked about him once or twice and written him off, and he's going to win as well. So we've a great record of getting these fellas over the line. Bob Island just springing to mind again there in the World Hurdle. Duro, you want to talk about one at Naas as well, Final de Mar? What's the name of the horse? Fruit to Mar. Sorry, John.
Yeah, no, of course. No, I really liked his performance. The bigger note as well is that Henry de Bromhead's horses are just, they're flying beyond any means. I mean, they're 30 for 148 now over the last 21 days. It's just really, I'm sorry, over for the season so far, like absolutely flying. Darragh O'Keefe riding him out of his skin. But I just kept thinking of Tony's comment about waiting for Willies to come out, because I just watched up the running there and he's holding off the New Brook Diamond, wasn't it? The horse in second of Gordon Elliott's, and he's holding him off, does all the donkey work, thought he jumped very well, thought he was very genuine, thought he's a lovely horse. Back like defeat was out of the question. Henry de Bromhead afterwards quite excited for Henry. Henry can be that kind of classy way of talking all the time, and then you can see he's kind of excited about kind of one or two the odd time. I thought he was quite excited here, but you just watch these horses go up the run and now just going, oh God, we've no idea how good you are, really. We have absolutely no idea until these Mullins brigades start coming out and he starts giving the flight plans to all these aeroplanes back home in Close Sutton. We just don't know. But look, I have the height of respect for the fact that Henry de Bromhead has kind of figured this out for now. 1 year Willie's going to get the rain early and they're just going to come out early and they're all going to be in trouble. But I do respect the fact that Henry de Bromhead has he's taken his October, now November, very seriously, and he's trying to mop up as much as he can before Willie gets going, doesn't he?
Yeah, and like you said last year, he goes very quiet in December, so we've got another couple of weeks out of Henry, and then he'll go quiet. And
he's like you with the hampers, Cass. Yeah. He's like you with the hampers. You go very quiet as well in December.
Give me a call, castandco.ie. We'll get the ad in. Good man, Jermo. And Jermo, fair play to you. You're talking about 5 horses today, and 3 of them are English. So Lisbon Park impressed you at Exeter on Friday.
Really good. I kind of went to drop into our group about him and then looked into already. He's a lovely big horse, Cass. I'll actually leave you if you want to hear. I thought Tizard's another yard as well. It's actually going quite well this season. He's a big season ahead. Potentially, because he could have a lot of well-handicapped horses there, because they've been kind of not in the doldrums but not having great seasons, so he could have a very good yard. But I thought this horse was really impressive, Cass, wasn't he?
I thought he was awesome. The way sometimes when watching the race you're not expecting that and you just fall in love with one. It kind of happens maybe once a year, I think, actually, and he was the one this year. I
love the fact that Brendan Powell 2 out went to go after him and then kind of went, oh no, God, I've got a serious horse under me. He just didn't need to. But he went about 3 times to kind of shake the horse up, and then he just kept going, oh no, I really don't need to hear it all. And he just kind of scored it home. I just love watching that race, because the jockey looks genuinely shocked by kind of what's under him, and you can see it in his body language. Like, it's class. Yeah, it's deadly.
Yeah, well, I thought throughout most parts of the race he looked like the best horse. He jumped really well early, and then he dives at the third last. Really novice mistake. And normally when they do that and they kind of go down a bit and come back up, they lose momentum, and it could take an awful lot out of them. Straight back on the bridle, tanking all over good horses. I mean, the third horse went off age 13 or something, and he'd won 2 races before. Now I know he'd big layoffs, but I just thought he travelled really well. It looked like a good race. He's a walk in the park is the only worry, and his head. He doesn't have a high head carriage in the sense that he's tearing his head around trying to get out of, like a dog trying to get out of its collar. Like, he's not like that. but he has a high head carriage in the way a lot of Henrys do, actually. They're very upright in their head. So he had that. That's the only little small thing. But God, I just thought this Lisbon Park, and I say an awful lot of listeners won't see it. I say go back and watch it. I thought hugely impressive. One more novice, and then if he wins that, you'll be looking at coming into better company as well. And the other one I thought that was really good, is an obvious one, was Haiti Calor. And I wanted to ask you that. Rebecca Curtis said after that he's probably going to go Betfair Chase. What would you rather win now if you were nowhere? Would you rather win a Betfair Chase or a Coral Gold Cup?
Coral Gold Cup anyway here, I'd say it's probably worth my money too, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. It would take the money out, but I'm sure it's something similar. But I'd definitely be Coral Gold Cup. I mean, it's a race with so much more history. It's just such a prestigious race to win. I couldn't tell you who won the Betfair.
I know, but I'd say it's probably easier one. Is it the Betfair Chase? Probably easier one.
Well, I tell you what, right? He's 92 now for the Betfair Chase. If he goes first, the grey horse skills to be favourite. Sorry, excuse me, I can't think of his name. Grey Dawn will be favourite.
Grey Dawn, yeah.
He'll be 7-4, and your man will be 11-4. If he goes for the Coral Gold Cup off 153, honestly, he could be 7-4 for the Coral Gold Cup. He would be no bigger than 5-2, no bigger than. And I just think the track is going to suit him down to the ground. Like, he loves Newbury. I think it's a more prestigious race to win. And I know it's an unusual thing to say that the race of Grade 1, but
no, still, it makes sense. Yeah, that's right.
Like, if you look back through the history of it, he really reminds me of Denman as well. He's really big and really attacks the fence. He's super horse.
He's a class horse.
Yeah, and an extra week as well. You'd wonder, will they maybe go down that route?
But wasn't it as well that if Sean Bowen's not available, they'll go for the other race or something, isn't it? That it's seems to be dependent on having Sean Bowen, which again strikes me as odd, because Ben Jones did most of the winning until the Irish Grand National. He won at Cheltenham and everything on this horse, and then all of a sudden Sean Bowen gets swapped on, and now apparently the horse is reliant on Sean Bowen. I don't know, the whole thing just strikes me as a little bit odd.
He's a point and shoot job anyway. It's not like he's a hold up horse. You just throw him out and let him take on his fences and the way he goes. But yeah, and look, I just thought it was interesting, and it was a really good performance. Over hurdles again, Tony. The interesting over hurdles angle. We're getting a lot of that talk this week. So that wraps up our kind of review. And another topic we want to talk about. David Jennings had a really interesting article, if anyone didn't see it, in the Racing Post, on how he misses Ted Walsh, on how racing pundits are stayed a bit dull and don't speak their mind enough. And I put this to the two lads, and we always thought it was a good kind of a discussion point. And Tony, I might go to you first on it. Like, you read it and you took down a couple of points on it. I mean, there is a lot of good pundits out there, but a lot of the coverage is a little formulaic sometimes.
I suppose how do you define pundits and stuff like that? Look, a lot of this is personal choice. Like, I'm sure plenty of people can't bear listening to me or us, whatever. Like, I'm not going to start going in here slating people or anything like that. I don't watch an awful lot of racing live, as in sit down for 3 hours and watch, last Saturday there. Like, maybe the biggest days, but like, I watch it back after. I might quick catch it on my phone, nip in to watch it, but watch a lot of it kind of maybe after the event, but do the replays and stuff like that. I don't really have much of an opinion on a lot of the British presenters. I just don't catch them. Like, I do quite like a lot of the Irish guys, like Gary O'Brien's obviously excellent. Cranberry's excellent. I like when they talk about fitness of horses. Some people are quite good at that. Like, Lydia's obviously absolutely brilliant. Like, I love the way Lydia just arrives over to Naas for that meeting in January and like has more knowledge of the Irish form book than the rest of us kind of put together, stuff like that. I do think, like, this thing about them having a kind of a proximity or a closeness with trainers, I actually think that's quite important. Like, it's very easy for me to say, oh, go on, way off there and slate trainer X. Like, I'm not making all my living out of this. I want to hear the comments from the trainers, and some of these trainers are probably quite difficult, and wouldn't give comments to people who have kind of said anything even mildly critical of them in the past. So I do want to find out notes. I do think, as an overall point, trainers, especially big trainers and relative to jockeys, get a very, very easy time though. Like, I think the tendency to slate jockeys, like, in the vast majority of cases, jockeys are following orders as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's the trainer you need to be taking the issue with there. in terms of people who maybe I would like listen to and stuff like that, again, podcast stuff like that, like not everything to say, but like the bar stewards are a good out of crack there. I think so. Like I love your man John on it. Like I just think I know like some of the stuff he comes out with is mad. It's not related to racing, but my God, the man has just such a passion for racing and wanting to see the sport kind of thrive. And he has lots of very interesting insights on it, a great history and sport in the sport. Like he done an awful lot of things. I really like kind of Matt Toombs there. Matt's kind of a friend of mine, so like, I think he's kind of an interesting way of looking at the sport. And you know what? I've seen someone getting a bit of stick there over the weekend, Maddie Plale. I actually think she has a few, interesting ideas and stuff that, other people don't kind of say, and she's not afraid to say it. I think actually she's quite interesting as well. So yeah, that was kind of my take on it, lads. From a person that doesn't kind of watch a lot of it, maybe I have too much to say in it there, but yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, there's good insight, TK, and taking the positives mainly on the people you like, which because she can't. Gary O'Brien and Strand that you pointed out, I absolutely love the two of them. The bar stewards one, they actually had Johnny Deneen on, another fella I love listening to. My one point on it would be, I have a problem with people when they're not being themselves and being genuine and trying to be something else. What's brilliant about Johnny Deneen and Gary O'Brien and Fran Berry, they're all different personalities, different characters, but they're authentic and they're themselves on screen. It's, what drives me bonkers now, the couple of the English presenters, and I won't name them, it doesn't need to be named, and one or two of the Irish ones on RTE as well, especially, and they're trying to be Nick Luck when they're not Nick Luck. You know what I mean? There's no authenticity then. It's all a false pretense of what you're doing. So that's one thing I would say. And I would say, friend of the show, David Jennings, the nicest man in racing. It's a bit rich of him to be saying about people not saying anything about anyone. When Geno's wouldn't say a bad word about anyone half the time. Like, he's such a nice guy. Dermo, your points on it?
Yeah, my favourite guy in racing is actually, I love Steve Mellish. I just think Steve Mellish is absolutely brilliant. I think he has no issue at all with calling things out on racing TV. And I like that. I completely echo what Tony's saying, that I think trainers get a fierce soft side of it. I do understand that, though, as he said, it would be very difficult to call something out when you know that you mightn't get going to that open day, or you mightn't get that exclusive stable tour in horse racing. That's a big deal around Cheltenham time. That's a full article for you, or a full web page, or whatever, So all that side of it is tough. But I do find sometimes, that was very strange in ITV, was it during the summer when Oisin Murphy had given one an absolute stones of a right, and I think it was Ollie Bell said on ITV, he basically said it. He said that wasn't a good ride, that was poor. And the jockeys that were on the coverage, basically, I think it was Adele Moore and a Megan Nichols, just may as well mention it because you can find it anyway. But they just went and defended Oisin Murphy straight away. And Ollie Bell was kind of like he'd said something wrong. And he'd been very respectful about it. But then, 2 hours later, Oisin Murphy went up on Twitter and just basically goes, "Oh yeah, I gave that horse the stones of a ride, apologies." And it was just kind of made you realise that I think there is way too much of a proximity sometimes. I think coverage from other sports, they're not as close to the footballers. So they are able to say, or, in Gaelic football, they're not as close to a Kerry footballer, somebody from Tyrone. So they are able to say, you know what, that was a terrible performance. Horse racing, it's such a small bubble sometimes. I do think that the likes of IT and RT, they are looking for the former jockeys mostly, as in I don't think there's anyone on RT anymore that's not a former jockey on as a pundit anyway. There definitely isn't. So what that ends up lending itself to is the situation where you've got trainers and stuff to just kind of get an easy time of it, because I wouldn't like to sit here and slam someone that I know very well. I wouldn't like to do it at all. So I fully get it, but I do think the way out of this is diversification. On podcast wise, though, just while we're talking about our rivals, the one I absolutely love is those two lads on Take a Pull, Declan and Andy. I think they're brilliant. They're absolutely fantastic tipsters as well, and great crack, and they're great for the game. Lads like that, they be the kind of shows I like. I love the bar stewards as well. So it is those kind of shows. I think racing could do with a few more characters. Maybe an old Dunphy or Ted Walsh. It is lacking in that now, but I don't know whether we're kind of in the climate for it, but I do just think we have an awful lot of forced personalities and forced everything else. I'd love a proper old kind of pundit now on TV who's not afraid to kind of call out bad rides within reason. It's all very samey, really is very samey all around the place.
Yeah. I thought maybe Davy Russell would be the character to do that, and that he's quite an abrasive character and he is very genuine in himself. But I think he kind of respects the code at the moment of certainly Irish racing, where you don't badmouth. Do you remember last year when Hugh said, "Oh, it was in the great 1 to 2 mile chase when the horse got the Solness went off a
Solness
million." Yeah,
got away, yeah.
Yeah. Hugh criticised a few of the lads in behind and got absolute dowsy abuse from all the jockeys on the panel saying, what would he know? Never rode a winner and all this. But like, if you criticise, even racing fans are very sensitive to criticism of anything. Like I said last year, around this time last year, I didn't think Rachel was riding anywhere near as well as she had been. And like a lot of comments in the YouTube comments saying, what would your man know? Actually, if you say anything at all about anyone in racing, you're kind of leaving yourself open, which it changes the dynamics. I think Geno's right. I think it would be great if everyone was a bit more open and a bit more honest and a bit more authentic.
Sure, on Saturday, Maddie Playell put up on Saturday after Nico de Boinville had won on what's the big he was third or second in the Coral Cup. I can't remember his name, but he won the first race anyway. He won the Pertemps qualifier. And Maddie said after the race, yeah. She said after the race, did Nico de Boinville have to hit him twice up the running? As in, the horse was kind of home. Now, he is a big Larry yoke. But that's a question that's reasonable enough. She wasn't saying it on the grounds of anything. She just asked the question on Twitter. And you have to just go up and read the replies. There's about 40 replies to her. People mansplaining or whatever you want to call it to her. And you're looking at it going, first of all, she's forgotten more about racing than most of those people kind of replying no. And you're looking at it kind of going that she couldn't ask a question without being absolutely jumped on. And I think racing, the public are also part of it, but I also do firmly believe though that this does rest with trainers and racing people. They don't like being asked tough questions. I think they'd like the Racing Post and all of these things to be like a local gazette as to, look at this lovely trainer and look at the winner he's had. They don't want anything contrary to that. So I think unless we kind of get away from all that, I think we're going to be in a spot about it, really.
You've provided me with the story there now about the Racer Post being local gazette. So I used to work Racer Post back in the day, right? And we used to do the point-to-point supplement. And so this horse won Champagne Fever. I'm sure you've heard of him. I can't think of it, who trained him. Do you know the name of him, Tony, who trained him in this point-to-point? So anyway, the office phone rings and then no one in the office, only me, right? So I started the phone. But what was his name? If you know his name, no, can you look it up? So the trainer
and we're looking it up. Go on ahead there, yeah.
The horse is for sale, right? And somebody had written a piece saying, I don't know what it's about, his head carriage or his attitude in the point supplement. And Wilson Dennison, that's the guy's name. And so, maybe saying, I don't know about his horse for the future. Should the horse turn into a fantastic horse, of course. But your man rings up anyway and he says, you can't be saying that kind of stuff. We're trying to sell these horses. And I was like, excuse me now, whoever you are, right? I don't care if you're trained horse. I said, we're the punter's paper and we're for the punters, right? So anyway, your man took this on board. He was sound, right? We had a nice conversation. So he rings up Johnny Mullen, who was the editor at the time. And Johnny Mullen was like, what are you on about saying we're the punter's paper? We're for the whole industry and all this. And I got a big lecture, a big wagging the finger at me. You can't be going, giving company policy out with that. That's what I was making up. So anyway. No longer the punter's paper anyway, but it's...
that's brilliant.
Yeah, but it would have the right name there. I don't want to do the wrong names. You look him up, Tony, no?
That was J.A. Ryan, I think it was.
Okay.
I've got the breeder here and the owner and stuff like that, but no, I can't find the point-to-point trainer here.
I know, in fairness now, we had a good chat and it was a good bit of crack. Sure, I was wet behind the ears, naive youngster like. You said, listen,
but
we're the punters to my craft.
Even last year at Leopardstown, or 2 years ago it was, and a pundit who I won't name was doing one of those, at Leopardstown races up on the stage there, they'd be chatting away about the horses and Ted Walsh would be on that panel and stuff and they'd be talking away. And I think one of them said something like, famous owner had 2 horses in it and one of them was, and this pundit basically said one of the horses would be winning at Cheltenham, but the other horse wouldn't. That's all they said. Literally, I don't think the other horse is a Cheltenham horse. On the way home, they'd 5 missed calls from that owner, and the owner was very unhappy with them that they had slammed their horses like that publicly. And you're kind of saying to yourself, like, pundits do need a bit of a break as well, because they they actually can say much now without getting a bit of abuse back to them as well. Like,
Yeah. In fairness, we're not well enough known to get abuse from
no, thank
over
God we're fine.
pundits and there, so thank God.
Apart from
Right.
Tony might be. Yeah.
Yes. So hold on, I'm going to get this up now because it's annoying me about the point. Just so we finished up. Oh yeah, it doesn't actually say it on the things. But anyway, whoever the trainer champagne fever was, I enjoyed our conversation. And moving on now to the top 10. What's that, somebody?
No, but like being negative about a horse, like, is that not one of the best ways into a race possible? Like, if you have a negative opinion of a horse, like, to me, I prefer going into a race with one strong negative opinion of a horse and three others in the race that I'm lukewarm on. Going into a race when I have three positive opinions of a horse is disaster, because you're trying to pick from the three of them. If you have a negative opinion of the horse, a strong negative opinion, you're saying, well, this is going to get beat anyway now. The fair chance this is going to get beat. I just need to find something to beat it. Now, maybe people get insulted when you say kind of stuff like that, but you know what? It's only a bet, right? You don't want it on your gravestone that you said horse X was a complete pig. Like, I want to have a bet, and I'll change your mind afterwards if he turns out to be genuine. Whatever, the form turns out to be better than you kind of thought, or the jockey gives it a bad ride, whatever. Like, yeah, I know, I just don't get that at all. Especially a sport that's so tied up into the betting part of it that so much of the coverage is very, very positive. From Barry, I suppose, if I would say, oh God, I think this is a kind of Midland favourite. Look, you end up with egg in your face. You don't need 40 people telling you got egg in the face. You know you got it wrong. Like, let's move on to the next race. Can you find a winner tomorrow or 3 races later, type of thing.
But the horse isn't going to read your tweet either. The horse isn't going to hear any of this. So I don't get the whole getting offended about. Somebody put up one day about a horse being rotten, and someone replied saying that's not fair. He's a horse going with 5 years, and I remember just thinking the horse isn't going to read the tweet. It's fine. Like, it's literally grand. Sorry, go on, Cass.
No. High on the horse and someone made a negative comment. Sure, you wouldn't care if you're in racing long enough. You wouldn't care, and if you're a punter, you wouldn't care because you're losing all the time and you're being wrong all the time. Tony, you got to that seat. That's our
absolutely. Yes, tell him a brick and sticks to myself. But look, you move on, you forget about it. But the thing that you say about lacking authenticity is so true. Like, because if you talk to these trainers and jockeys off the record and people are involved in racing, you will hear language that you will not hear anywhere else among the populace. And I'm not talking about positive language about how they describe horses in their ownership and care and other. Terrible. But any of it making it into the mainstream, it just doesn't happen. Like, whatever.
Anyway, good argument there. Good discussion point. We'll see what people think about it in the comments. Listen, we're just going to quickly run through the chasers end of the Anglo-Irish classification. From glancing at it, just seems to be so heavily focused on the Grand National Swarm for some bizarre reason that it won't take too long anyway. But the 10 horses, and there's only one British horse in it, and he's bottom of the 10, John Bond. So we'll actually go in reverse order this week for a change. And Diarmuid, John Bond, we saw Il Ere Tomp. John Bond will make his comeback, I presume, in the slower chase this weekend. I haven't even checked the entries. I presume that's where he's going, and onto Single Creek. Can he come back this season after disappointing at Sandown? He was very good at entry, in fairness to him, following disappointment at Cheltenham.
Yeah, just again, he'll win everywhere, barring Cheltenham, unless there's absolutely nothing against him. But he just seems to, for what I'd say, it drives Nicky Henderson crazy. He seems to just he saves up his terrible mistakes for running around Presby Park. Whatever unsettles him, or if the undulations seem to put his feet wrong, whatever it is, he saves up his absolute Horlicks of jumps for that course. So you just can't be backing him with anything serious at Cheltenham, Cass.
And you'd think he'll beat Let His Hump, stand down on the Tingle Creek. He's odds against to do it.
I'd be backing him to beat.
So the only thing is, I watched back that Sandown race this morning, and John Bond, remember last year when he started getting going and was going really well, Nico had a thing of gunning him from the front, and John Bond was loving it. The jump was brilliant. Couldn't do that in Champa Taste for some reason. Doesn't like Cheltenham, I would say. You're right. But when he went to Sandown the last day, I was Sandown, he'd been 5 from 5 for Sandown, I think, before that. He jumped markedly left. So I just wonder, like, could have been the end of a long season, or
I thought he ran a hard race at Aintree. I thought, it was a hard race.
Yeah, he did, but he'd never jump left like that. And I'll be watching that in the Shlower big time. Do you know what I mean? Because if he's targeted, maybe he's getting bothered by the game. Grange Clare West is next. Tony, he's number 9 on the list. Sorry, same rating as John Bond, 168. Tony, you probably haven't even looked him up, but he's not even mentioned in the Sable tours that I've seen from Willie Mullins, so I don't know what the story is.
Yeah. I'd still like to know how he ran so bad behind Sinisi and Navin, but the less said there, the better.
Yeah.
Mullins kind of finished up there. He is 6 of the top 10 on official ratings, and it does show the skill of him. Like that, the horses 4th, 5th, and 6th in the official ratings now. I Am Maximus, Nick Rocket, and Grange Clare West all finished up running in the Grand National in the last 2 years. 2 of them won. One of them was third. That he wasn't long figuring out who the good ones were, and kind of ducked the Gold Cup, but finish up in the very high value races anyway.
Well, I think it says more about these classifications that the top 3 in the Grand National are getting the kind of feeling they're getting, rather than the likes of Gentleman's Game with place in the Gold Cup, or horses that would have ran up, close in good grade ones, like King George and races like this. I don't know. It's not a list.
We're not seeing Banbridge there. Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, it is.
Yes, yeah. I mean, who's the better horse? Great Clare West or Banbridge last season, sure, but no contest there, I would have thought. So we'll probably skip over, although we're talking about their prospects for this season. So Nick Rocket, Tony, I suppose, it remains to be seen. It's not that interesting to talk about the horses.
Yeah. Do horses go on after the Grand National, or is that the peak? I can't recall too many of them doing an awful lot afterwards. I think Mullen did mention that early in his career, and definitely as novice holders, that maybe he was a right-handed horse. The national course is just so kind of galloping and opening. Horses can kind of get away with it there, but like if he was to pair the more standard left-handed track, what would he do? I don't know.
Yeah, Ilete Tomp is 7th, joint 7th with Nick Rocket on 169, but we've kind of covered him, Dermo. We go to Clonmel, and remains to be seen what comes into the Tingle Creek. A horse we got wrong, I think I certainly got wrong last year, Marine Nationale. And sorry, Dermo, I'm going to go to Tony again, because I think Tony was more in the camp with me about Marine Nationale having question marks. So just wondering, have you changed your mind on him, Tony, or still this season is he the right horse, or is that market for the Champion Chase kind of open?
I've mostly changed my mind, but Felixia still fell when he was upsides him. I would have said Marine was probably the 4th or 6th favourite at the time. I'm not 100% sure. And then at Punchestown, Factifile didn't turn up. And maybe I'm picking holes in a horse that just is the best of them. And I think his trainer's actually excellent. Because he buys horses that aren't the top dollar and manages to compete with the best of them. But would I be rushing to back him in it for 3 of this weekend? I wouldn't really. But I wouldn't. Kind of horse I would like to see win, because I do like to see the trainer putting it up to the other lads.
I tell you what, this year the Champion Hurdle is absolutely fascinating. There's obviously loads of horses in it. The Champion Chase now with Marine Nationale, Majbra, and Sergino Dermo is absolutely fascinating. So do you think Marine Nationale can top it again, or do you think one of the young guns is going to come and knock him off his perch?
He's the most solid one of them. He also handled that ground no problem as well last year, considering all the talk was that he needed proper ground. But there's just question marks over the rest of the Majbra. Like at 7-1 on the day, I'll be backing him all right. But God, he hit that fence something, and he didn't jump the rest of them great either, But he was still good enough that he wasn't far away. Obviously, that form was boosted at the weekend by night. Then Sergino's obviously on the way back. It could be a fascinating race, but God, when's the last time we actually ended up with a good Champion Chase? I mean, it just, I don't know, it hasn't happened since the day of Moscow, nearly, was it? It's a long time since we had a good Champion Chase.
I don't think we've had 5 really good horses in the division starting out in a long time. Like you might have had Sprinter Sacre one year and Altior another year, and 1 or 2 good horses, Shackenburg Swan and Ergamy. But if you think about it, this year you've Marine Nationale, you've Masbury, you've Sergino, you've Ilete Tomp, you've John Bon in and around the division. Django Boy, arguably, he'd be going up a trip, whatever. But there's plenty of horses there, to make it a really interesting division this year. So at whatever about the Champion Chase, I think all 3 of the big markets.
Yeah, please God,
Cup market. Yeah, it's a much better looking season than I'm much more excited about it than I was this time last year. I am just going to skip over him.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I was just going to say, like, it's hard. It's been a while since the Champion Chase has kind of been what would you say, a really kind of clean race where something mad didn't happen, or the ground didn't massively change in the morning, or there wasn't, at least one, if not two, significant fall. Or no, John didn't fall this year, but the jump mistake kind of left him kind of out of his ground and all that type of stuff. Yeah, like the 2 years in Ergamy won it. Like, he really got the weather on his side completely. Captain Guinness, obviously that kind of race fell apart a bit as well. Put the kettle on. It was like a Stewards Cup, the finish of it.
A
So
little
yeah,
over the year.
that's the last 5 years.
Definitely the soil didn't perform, and Chacking for Swab came out the morning of.
There was
then
some
you had
other
the year-
horse as well that missed it as well that week.
That's right. And El Fabiolo, clattered it that year, and it's just been mad. I say there's been one normal year in the last 10. That's about it. So
Put the kettle on, beat.
on.
Put the kettle on, beat Checking Persuade, didn't she? That year as well. Checking Persuade didn't
That's
get up the hill.
right.
It's been a weird race. It really has. Yeah.
Gaelic Warrior, speaking of weird races and weird horses, Dermo, he didn't fire the early part of the season. Looks like King George is very much going to be on the horizon for Gaelic Warrior. What do you foresee for him this year? A horse you've called right throughout his whole career.
Yeah, definitely have not. I've never. I saw beside you in the Arkle. You slammed them all year, and then it ended up quite. You end up backing about like 25. It was a great shout that day for the Arkle. But Patrick Mullins, he's kind of suggesting that just keep him away from Leopardstown. Hates the place. Keep him away from there, and he might stay kind of straight all season. So he was brilliant at Aintree. Like, he was fantastic at Aintree, and he was a horse that he's just a weird horse. He goes right-handed, but seems to win plenty left-handed. He's just an oddball, and wouldn't be a horse that I'd ever back odds on anyway, Cass.
Yeah. Just his supreme engine. I think last year I said this is possibly the best horse in training, and then he's making an absolute fool of me, and then towards the end,
and then wins at Aintree on the Bridle.
But I could never ever back him at a short-ish price.
Do you know what though? Do you know what that win at Aintree showed? I think as well is that Willie Mullins, one of his main skills, his politics, and that Willie Mullins, Rich Ritchie'd had a middling enough season, for his standards, and then all of a sudden, Willie is just amazing at plucking a big win out for an owner. Poneros at Cheltenham when, what's the name of the owner again who owns Brighton? Your man,
Tony Bloom.
Tony Bloom hadn't had a horse for a while. All of a sudden, Poneros comes out of thin air. Literally, Willie Mullins and Rich Ritchie, who would have been his leading owner for years, doesn't have a whole lot going on all season, apart from lost him out in the Mares, obviously. Then all of a sudden, Gaelic Warrior comes out of, again, the air to win. So that's one of Willie's biggest skill, I think, and Gaelic Warrior showed that last season.
Yeah, fact to file, Tony. I presume we go John Jerkhead, and it's what they do with him at Galapan, isn't it? So you're into the top three now.
Yeah.
Fact to file, I know the way you think of the Galapan.
Just looks very much at his best around the intermediate trips. It's what he does in the middle part of the season is the question. Like, are they gonna drop back to two? Like, did the Punchestown? Don't think that particularly worked, but maybe it was too bad to be true that you couldn't base on the trip. And the 3 mile stuff didn't work at Leopardstown either. Still ran quite well. I presume they just don't want to go to Ascot for that Grade 1. The 2.5 there in late February. That's just too close to the Ryanair. Like, that's the. It's just he's never really shown much interest in that race at all. At any point, I know the way you're thinking. I'm just wondering, is it going to be a repeat of last season where he's kind of running all right, and then just bang into form in March? Is it going to be a one race kind of campaign with him? The only thing I would say is, like, really dry winter last season, like, to the point of an aberration. Very, very few heavy ground, even soft ground races last season, especially at the big festivals. Like, is his ceiling even higher now if he actually get genuinely soft ground for the couple of Leopardstown races? Like, is there a bigger performance in him again? Like, he kind of was keeping on at the end of all those races, the Christmas one and the Irish Gold Cup.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be very interesting, because it was almost like they were trying to teach him how to jump in those races. He was just schooled out the back, views of the Grand Nash. And then he was obviously coming alive at home, that they supplemented him for the Gold Cup and said we go for it. But yes, he did his superb jump, and it's a bit like Gallopin de Champ. I said it a couple of times here. Like, he jumped brilliantly in the Gold Cup when he won, but there's loads of bad jumping in his back catalog. So what happens when a Gold Cup doesn't fall its way? Do you put your whole season around the Gold Cup?
I always thought he was such a job horse, and they had him. That Kim Weir was such a good mark to get for him. That I think he just forgot how to jump. I mean, Derek O'Connor. Did you ever watch that race back and watch the first two fences?
Nearly pulled himself up.
Yeah, but he balloons over one. Yeah. So it's just I have think last season was him being reminded how to race again. To be honest.
Yeah. So these horses. Sorry, Tony. These horses. I just wondered.
He's picked in the spring. Sorry, I just quickly say he's picked in kind of spring the last 2 seasons, and Cromwell has kind of done the Floor and Porter thing, not a 1-race season, but like not far off a type of thing. Yeah. Is it going to be that again? Or do you think that the jumping is now straightened out and he's just going to be competitive in all these races?
I don't know. I'd say JP would be given the instructions here as well, and he'd be happy enough to say to Gavin Cromwell, like, let's just do what we did last year, the last 2 seasons, and get him right for the one day. I think that's what you do if he was yours as well. Like, let him run in the Irish Gold Cup, and if he goes and wins it, fair enough. And Leopardstown of Christmas and John Durkin, and he should be spot on. But I wonder, do you know Willie made noises about Gallopin having a slight setback? And Willie never rushes the horse to a race. Like, you know what I mean? I'd be amazed if Gallopin, he's not going to make John Durkin, and then I'd be amazed if he threw him into Leopardstown. I think he will go with the old album photo and go to more with Gallopin, which will mean that fact file, and I know the way you're thinking what happens there with Emma Christmas. So that'll be interesting to see what will happen with those ones. Looking forward. Dermo, I was asking out of them, who could win the Gold Cup. Do you have one in mind? Monty Starr still?
No, definitely not. Poor old Monty Starr. Now his head car is now as bad as they come. Oh no, that was a bad blow. Although Tony put him on the sheet of justice last year, in fairness, but
no blow.
I would Lecky Watson would be the one I'm still kind of swaying towards. I thought that was a brilliant performance last year, but reading stable tours during the week, Willie Mullen said he thinks he's a national horse, not a Gold Cup horse.
Always a worry when Willie does that if he wants him back.
It just means he doesn't think he's very good. We'd all
get aboard the Stiller Story bandwagon and pray for a wet winter. So it only seems to be suggesting we're doing. Okay, well, look, we're going to hear from Pat Cooley now from our sponsors Bet365. Pat, we've never met before, so lovely to be on with you. Had you a nice weekend?
Yeah, all good fun, thank you. Looking forward to the National Hunt season as we progress now, and they're already beginning to filter through these Cheltenham aspirational horses, aren't they? So, yeah, onwards and upwards for the season.
And come here, before we go into the weekend review, we just saw a really good horse, didn't we? At Carlisle, My Daddy Paddy for the Skeltons. Very impressive and looks on the path to the Supreme Novices Hurdle.
Yes, we've got a new Supreme Hurdle favourite. We were 12-1 the field. That was Bambino Fly, the unbeaten mare of Willie Mullins. And My Daddy Paddy was a bit of a high horse for the Skeltons based on his one run, and he won impressively in the bumper. But he's just trotted up in the first race at Carlisle today, and he's 8-1 with us. Just to give you an impression of, okay, he won at odds on, but the Skeltons also had another horse win the next race at odds on. My Daddy Paddy went 11 seconds quicker. So he must have been whizzing around the track. So he's probably just going to have supreme aspirations only, not be worrying about going up in trip with him. So that's pretty good, and he's to be 11 seconds quicker than the winner of the next race as well. So he's a decent horse. So there'll be more to come out, but at last we've a Supreme Hurdle favourite.
Yeah, John Super as well. I mean, it's a single figure seems a bit short this time of year, but he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. If we go back kind of chronologically, I suppose Thursday we were looking at Clonmel and Ilhe Tomp and Spindleberry were the two to catch the eye with a view to the future, Pat.
Yeah, Ilete Tomp prior to Thursday, the last time we'd seen him was on our Bet365 Gold Cup day when he beat John Bon at Sandown. Of course, John Bon and Sandown are very much a winning combination. But Ilete Tomp, he absolutely ran away from him up the running at Sandown. So it was good to see him back in business at Clonmel, and it shapes up well for the rematch in the Tingle Creek. So I think we're round about joint favourites at the moment will be for that one. Not many other runners will be in that race, so it'll be a super clash, and really looking forward to it. So next stop Sandown for the pair of them.
Who would your money be on there now if the race was in the morning?
Well, I think John Bon, he's, as the golfers would say, he's on the back nine, isn't he? I think Ilete Tomp is probably still improving. So I always go with the horses on the way up and then the ones on the way down. So I'll be in Team Mullins for that one.
Good man. Keeping the Irish happy. And Spindleberry, I mean, it's very interesting comments from the trainer, Pat. I mean, the Mayor's Chase would be a logical step for her, but interesting comments from the owner about maybe a Gold Cup campaign.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We've quoted her at 50-1 for the Cheltenham Gold Cup, just to appease the owners there. But I think most of us in the office are of the opinion, well, what would you do if she was yours? We'd say, well, we'll be going for the Mayor's Chase. But that could just be a red hot Mayor's Chase this year, of course. You've got reigning champ Dino Blue, brighter days ahead. Who knows how impressive she's going to be when she makes her Chase debut. And there's other horses in the mix. We've got, what was it, Only by Night. She's now 5-1, having won so well over the weekend herself. So what maybe is an afterthought of a race traditionally, it could be one of the hot races this time around at the festival.
Yeah, yeah. When we're touching on Only Been Night and winning, and she's 5-1, as you say, that what I thought from that race, Champ Kiley, I wouldn't have thought would 2 miles wouldn't be his trip, and I think he's top price 33-1 with you guys for the King George, and I could see him going right handed around Kempton. He could definitely be a contender in the King George. I would have thought there. Pat. And the other one, 80 Clore won very impressively on Friday in a hurdle race. So where do you think his target lies after that?
Well, his immediate targets are either the Coral Cup at Newbury, for which he's one of several with realistic chances. He may, of course, go for the Betfair Chase. He's very much ground dependent, this horse, but that Betfair Chase, you'd look at the favourite, Grey Dawning, you think, well, I don't know. He looks a bit beatable to me. I think he's a very skinny price. Again, in the what would you do if he was your scenario, I think I'd be edging towards the Betfair Chase and seeing what he's got. And then at least that way you know where you stand in terms of Gold Cup permutations. He's 25-1 for the Cheltenham Gold Cup. I'm sure that will appeal to people as well. He's quoted for the Aintree Grand National. He's one of the market leaders there. So he's a horse going places, and he did well over hurdles, didn't he, on his comeback run there? But I think they do want giving the ground for him. But hold your bets for the Coral Cup. I personally think he's more likely to go to Haydock for the Betfair Chase.
Yeah, that seems to be Rebecca Curtis's comments would suggest that for sure. And I think we can kind of skip over. We didn't see too much in terms of future clues at Wincanton or maybe even at Exeter. So looking ahead, the Cargo Cup's on the horizon, Pat, and how's the market shaping up for that?
Yeah, it's interesting. We got Jaguar is our market leader for that race, and again, he brings a nice progressive profile to the table. But Il Ridotto of Paul Nicholls has been the main market mover. Of course, he's very good in this race and round this track and at this time of the year. So they're the two that are probably joint favourites as we speak at the moment. But again, we've always have to give a nod to whatever the Skeltons are running at the moment. And they've got Panic Attack, who's again a lightly raced horse, given that he's a 9-year-old. He has been popular. He was double figures a week ago, and he's come into the market as well. So it's got that vibe to it. There's only 16 in the race as we speak at the moment, but it's got very much a 5-1 the field look about it as well.
But you're kind of fond of Jaguar in terms of a horse to follow for the season, Pat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think. I wasn't impressed with him in his first 3 races over fences. He won 2, and he was disappointing in the next one. He didn't seem to jump that well or look an absolute natural. And then he came out and he won at Cheltenham in good style. And then he went to the Cheltenham Festival and he won in really good fashion as well. So I think he's 4 from 5 over fences, and he is getting better and better and better. Of course, the handicapper hasn't missed him, but I think he's probably ahead of the handicapper just because of just what the upside about him is. So he's definitely on my radar as one to follow. And of course, whatever wins this race on Saturday, they normally rock up again, don't they, in a month's time over the similar race. And he's just one of those 2.5 miles. He could be one of those Saturday horses for the rest of the season.
And we've just been talking about big chasers and big chasers to look forward to, and the Coral Gold Cup at Newbury as well. Pat, have you seen any money for any horses in that? That's only a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, this is the one where all the stats gurus drive you mad. They say you must have a second season novice. You got to have a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, or 8-year-old. The only downside to that, I think the first 20 in the market are all 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. So not much to be gleaned for that. But again, it looks a bright hot race. We're 8-1 the field. Maya Town of Lucinda Russell and Michael Scudamore. He's been the market leader ever since the weights came out. But he did got £15 for winning at the festival that day. I know a few people thought he was well handicapped that day. I suppose the flip side of it, it was a 24-runner race and he won by 11 lengths. So what was he going to go up? But, you couldn't really say he's well handicapped. Resplendent Grey, of course, he won our Gold Cup at Sandown. He's come out and won well. So interesting. You got Blizzard of Oz of Willie Mullins. There's been money around for him. He's unproven at these extreme trips as well, though, but write him off at your peril. Haitical Law, we're not sure where he's going to go. But one without the string of ones by his name that has been the best backed horse with us. Very interesting horse is Inch House. His form figures are FPP6. So you wouldn't be thinking that's the kind of form you want to be bringing into a race like that. But he is a dangerously well handicapped horse. He was with the John Joe O'Neill stable. He switched to Paul Nicholls, and there has been money around for him. We were 25 to 1 2 weeks or so ago, and he's gradually been clipped into the market. He's round about 12 to 1 at the moment, and it's the Paul Nicholls runner with Harry Cobden aboard. So he's going to have his supporters on the day. I have to say, it's a bit of a stretch given he's pulled up in 2 and been last of 6, I think, in his only other run. But again, he is an horse, at least I can say to him, he is well handicapped, and he hasn't been going up the handicap by any means. He's been, on the other flip side, he's been going the other way around. So it'd be an interesting horse just to keep a tab on.
Yeah, and last year's winning the Yard, of course, as well, in the Coral Gold Cup. And as we're talking about chases to follow, we put up Jaguar Pack, but we were having a little chat, a really interesting chaser for the season to discuss on the UK angle. It was Lulamba.
Yeah, Lulamba, a very interesting horse. I know you remember him, he was second in the Triumph Hurdle, and then he came out and won so well at Punchestown. It was hard to know what connections would do, but Nicky Henderson was always saying he'd be a lovely chaser. But rather than go down the champion hurdle route with him this season, and then who knows, stick to hurdles, whatever, he's just taken the decision over the weekend. He's going chasing. Now, you look at our Arkle chase prices. This fella's now second favourite. There has been support for him. There's not many other UK stables that are remotely quoted in the race. Most of them have to be, Copac the board of Willie Mullins and other talented horses over the Irish side of the pond. They're the ones that are heading up the market. So with Lulamba, he's going to make his chase debut. I think it may be Exeter next week. He's probably going to come out and win by 10 lengths. Probably come out and win his next one by 10 lengths and his next one by 10 lengths. And we'll all be going, yeah, but he hasn't beaten anything. And the other people will be saying, yeah, but what's he supposed to do? Very much like Altior when he went chasing. He kept winning by wide margins, 2 or 3 runner races at 10s on. And he wasn't clocking rapid times or anything, but why would he winning at 10 to 1 on? So I think he's a type of horse that's going to keep dividing opinion. But I think maybe, is it a clue that with Lulamba going chasing, that just leaves one runner for Nicky Henderson in the champion hurdle at the moment, and that's Constitution Hill. They seem very high on Constitution Hill. So, maybe Nicky said, well, look, you won't beat Constitution over hurdles. Why don't we just go straight fencing? So maybe that's a bit of a plus for Constitution Hill as well.
Yeah, and the owner, of course, has both Anzadam and Stateman in the champion hurdle. So maybe that's another reason Lulamba could be going forward. Pat, great to talk to you. We've super racing coming up this weekend, the Open meeting at Cheltenham and the Troytown meeting at Navan. So this time next week, we should have plenty to talk about in terms of market moves for the future. Pat Cooney from Bet365, thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Looking forward to it all.
Welcome back, and thanks to Pat Cooney from Bet365 for that. We'll hear again from Pat next week. And we're going to close out the show now very quickly, lads. A notebook horse each. And Tony, we'll go to you first.
Okay, go to Clonmel there on Thursday. First race maiden, Hordle Covanas won it. Quite a steadily run race, and he kind of controlled it from the front. I thought a horse called Oak Soldier shaped a little bit better than the form. He finished 4th. Came from a bit further back to the 3 that beat him and kind of made his move 3 out, which, given the steady pace, was the hot part of the race. Kind of captured it well, and, hopefully would be able to pick up a small maiden hurdle at a lower level at one of the country tracks.
Very good. Thanks, TK. Diarmuid, a notebook horse from you?
Yeah, mine comes from Aintree on Saturday. This horse finished 3rd behind Mambo number 5. Glenn Gooley used to be trained by Willie Mullins, is now with a trainer called Faye Bramley. This is a horse who had some decent levels of form, lost his way with Willie, but ran in the Grand National and then was kind of sold shortly afterwards. Faye Bramley does quite well with these ex-Willie Mullins horses. Funny enough, she's one of the only ones. She got a win out of that. Remember that Pagane horse? She managed to get a win out of him. He wasn't winning much for Willie. But got dropped down to 219, 6 run, had looked sour enough, was sweet as anything at the weekend, ran, Sean Bowen seemed to have worked the absolute oracle on him, kicked him from the front, was there over the last, got beaten by two younger horses. He strikes me now off 119. He'll get a few pounds for that, but not much. He strikes me one now on New Year, on kind of St. Stephen's is there, Boxing Day as the Brits would call it, to win one there. I kind of one of those gaff tracks. I just think off that mark for a horse that had his ceiling of ability, they look like they've actually sweetened him back up now with all the headgear added on him. I think off that kind of a rating with how well he jumped, because jumping was his issue as well with Willie. He jumped really well this day under Sean Bowen. Loved the aggressive tactics. I think now that this small yard have figured him out, I think there could be a few wins in him.
Very good. And we've good racing to look forward to this weekend. The Paddy Power Gold Cup is on. The Troytown is on at Navan. Tony, keep in mind that the Troytown, you might just say no when it comes to you after that. And early caught your eye. Diarmuid, was there anything in the Paddy Power Gold Cup you'd had a quick look at? It's not the best renewal ever, is it?
No, but I would like the I like the Gavin Cromwell horse now that he fired in a big winner at the weekend. He had been 1 for 30 before that with Keith Donoghue, but the company sergeant ran a big race at Cheltenham before, obviously. I do like horses that just keep coming back for these kind of races. There could still be mileage left in him. And yeah, I'd like him at around 12-1 there for that.
You want to team to share though, wouldn't you? I wouldn't like to back him.
Oh God, yeah. Like he's the kind of horse now that like I take 8-1 on him now, just knowing he was running rather than 12-1 now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 33-1 there about Protect Rest, and I would back him if he ran in it. The class horse in the race, I know he'd be carrying a load of weight, but I think he'd pick up most of the horses in this and carry them anyway. So if Protect Rest gets to the front, I'd be interested in him at a huge price, but again, he may not run. Tony, an early look at the Troystown. Did you have a look, or is it an early closer anymore?
No,
we haven't.
Yeah, it is now closed. It closed about 10 days ago. No, I haven't looked at it yet. Just on that Paddy Power, I team of the podcast here, I'd be very suspect in the attitude of the company sergeant. The way he holds his tail since he's been with Dennis Hogan has been fairly poor. Probably a little bit of face merchant. Conyers Hill's another one in there. To me, he is a serial kind of weak finisher, kind of come there travelling and not find much. As I found it to me cost on occasion over hurdles. Cromwell's other horse there, the other Mozzie, I think he's an interesting horse, but I'm not quite sure he's going to get this trip. I thought he didn't get home in the novice handicap chase last season, then won the race up in Scotland. I think there would be a race in him, though whether he last home here, I don't know. And I actually don't have any opinion on Henry de Brahman's horse coming up easy. I'm not very familiar with him in the Paddy Power Gold Cup.
Great. Okay, well, that's a good show. Thanks to Tony Keenan. Thanks to Pat Cooney from Bet365, our sponsors. Please do like and subscribe. And thanks to our Lord and Master, Diarmuid Nolan. And we will chat to you all next week.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Court and Star into submission.